You can also unmute your. There you go. Thank you very much for joining us, Elena. You will be moderating this panel discussion on large-scale storage projects in Africa. And before I hand over to you, let me quickly give a quick word of introduction about you and your background. You are the senior project manager at UL Solutions. You are calling in today from Dubai, and I'm really pleased to have you with us today because I mean your specialty and the projects that you've worked on are simply amazing. So as you can see on the screen, specialized in fluid dynamics, CSP, and thermal storage, which is something that we often forget about when we talk about storage. And just to give a snapshot of the kind of projects that you've worked on, MBR Solar Park in Dubai, that's the Mohammed bin Rashid Solar Park. It's one of the largest projects in the world. You've been project manager there for several phases of this project, including the 800 megawatt PV, 700 megawatt CSP, and then 250 megawatt hybrid. So in terms of large-scale projects, I think you are one of our most experienced contributors today. And I'm very pleased to have you and to have you moderate this session. I will let you introduce the different speakers. You just tell me when you want me to share the introduction slides, and I hand over to you.
Thank you, John. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this conference, and thank you everyone for joining this conference. Today we will discuss about the latest updates on the energy storage and the future of this technology in some African countries. I can see right now there are more than 200 people connected, and we are expecting more audience. So this is a good number. So in this conference, we're bringing together for a discussion some of the best experts of the industries. We will have here Gilles Parmentier, that is CEO at African Rain. We have Kies, CTO at BlueNova. And we have Mawufemo Modjinou, is project coordinator at West African Power Pool. And before to give the floor to the speakers, let me make a short introduction about myself. As you already mentioned, some of the projects that I was working. I'm Elena Ortiz. I'm senior project manager in UL. I'm based in Dubai. I have more than 10 years experience working in the solar industry. I started my career working in Abengoa in Spain for the design of solar plants. After to move to UAE, where I was working at site, and I was continue my career with the main solar players for the region, such as Masdar and Acciona. I was working in the solar platform for energy storage in Masdar, and then I moved to the construction of the WAPP phase 3, and then the WAPP phase 4, where I was doing construction monitoring and quality coordinator activities. I'm in UL since 2 years, and I'm working in the renewables advisory team for the Middle East and Africa. It's my pleasure to be here and to moderate this panel with these speakers. So I will give the floor to our speakers so they can introduce themselves. Gilles, if you can start.
Yeah, thanks, Elena. Hi, everyone. I'm Gilles Parmentier. I'm the founder and CEO of Africa Rain. Africa Rain is a developer and investor in sustainable infrastructure. So we only do projects in sub-Saharan Africa. And it's mostly about renewable energy, including storage, but also other type of sustainable infrastructure like street lighting or potable water production, water treatment. I mean, anything that could increase access to essential services on the continent. In particular, yeah, that's part of the geography we have developed, and we still own and operate Synergy 2. And that was at the time the first solar IPP in West Africa back in 2016. It's a 25 megawatt solar plant in Senegal. We are also commissioning at the moment Koteni, which is a 38 megawatt solar plant in Burkina Faso. And we are in the process of financial close for Wallo Storage, which is a storage project in Senegal dedicated to frequency regulation for the Senegalese utility. So that is, I suppose this is, we will discuss and will come later on this project.
Thank you, Gilles. Carl, you would like to introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Just checking that you can hear me.
Yeah.
You can hear me
It's
fine.
fine.
Thank you. I had some issues with my microphone yesterday. Thank you, Elena, and good morning, everybody. My name is Carl. I'm from BlueNova Energy in Cape Town, South Africa. I'm the CTO, and I'm responsible for technology and software matters related to our battery systems. We design, build, and deploy battery energy storage systems. Excuse me, I'll range from smaller domestic batteries, the 50-volt batteries, through to medium-size CNI batteries behind the meter, and into large-scale CNI batteries also behind the meter. We don't really do large utility-scale batteries at this stage, so everything in front of the meter we're not playing in at the moment, but we are involved in a number of, would I say, largish microgrid projects. We've done a number of projects in South Africa where you could sort of assume that because of our current power shortage, there's lots of curtailment going on, so we're doing quite a few backup projects in the industry. We've done a number of 1 megawatt by, say, 2 megawatt hour 6-meter containerized solutions. We've recently also deployed a 1.5 megawatt by 4.5 megawatt hour battery at a large shopping center in South Africa, primarily for backup purposes. And we also use these batteries for arbitrage and peak shaving. And we are busy deploying a 6 megawatt by 20 megawatt hour project for a large estate in Southern Africa, also primarily for backup, but eventually also for arbitrage. And then we're also looking at a number of projects in Southern Africa, in Mozambique, and countries like that for microgrid applications. So yeah, I think in short, that's just a summary of what we do.
Very nice. Okay, project. Mawufemo, if you can introduce yourself before going to the discussion.
Okay, thank you, Elena. My name is Mawufemo Modjinou. I'm a project coordinator with the West Africa Power Pool. You know, I coordinate transmission line projects as well as power generation projects. So the WAPP basically is a regional organization established by the authority of ECOWAS heads of states and governments. And I would say the vision for which we have been established is to integrate the national power systems of our member states. And then once that is completed, we also ensure that a unified regional electricity market is rolled out. So this is what we have been doing for some time. We have a strategy which is based on the ECOWAS infrastructure program. And this is dictated by, we call it ECOWAS master plan for the regional power generation and transmission infrastructure. The current one is expanding up to 2033, and it's made up of 75 priority projects. These projects, we have generation and transmission line projects. So basically, this is what we have been doing. We so far have been able to interconnect all the 14 West Africa ECOWAS mainland countries electrically. And we also have a regional coordination center, which is based in Cotonou, our head office. And there, what we do is we have a control facility to control the grid, and we have operators which are supervising the activities, and then we also have a market outset where our members who are participating in this markets will be trading. So when we established, in 2006, we were about 30 members. We have 30 members. And today we are 40. We are made up of 40 utilities. So it's just an association of private and public utilities for which we work together for this regional electricity market to be developed. So the first market was rollout. The first phase of the market was rollout somewhere in 2018. And we are now working towards the DIA markets. We're programming to go live and pilot it somewhere this year, and next year we should be live with the DIA market. So briefly, this is what I want to say. I will detail all of this and later on and link it to what we are doing in terms of generation projects and how best could play some key roles in terms of supporting the stability of the grid and ancillary services, which is also part of the regional electricity markets component. So briefly, I stop here and I giving you back the floor, Elena.
Thank you, Mawufemo. Thanks for telling us more about the West African Power Pool. It's always very interesting to know more about the association. So I would like to start this discussion. I will raise the question for Gilles, but I would like everyone to give also his point of view. Gilles, what are the drivers for the large storage in Africa?
Oh, that is a very broad question. I mean, I would say the main driver is the increase in renewable energy. I mean, let's be more specific, the increase in intermittent energy, because hydro is renewable, but you know, you can pilot the generation, while for solar and for wind, it's intermittent, and those are passive energies. So as their share in the energy mix increase, you need to stabilize the grid, and you need to regulate the frequency of your grid with battery. And I mean, battery by storage by battery is so far the most efficient technology for that, considering the time to respond, etc. So yeah, for me that is the main driver. Before back in 2015-16, no one was talking about battery and storage in Africa, just because there was no need for that. So we see that there is a strong correlation with the penetration of renewable energy.
Yeah, I agree with you, Carl. You would like to add something, or Mawufemo, to the Gilles comment?
Yes, I think, like you said, that there might not have been a need before, but at the moment, for example, if you just look at South Africa, where we've got some dramatic load curtailment, there's definitely a need to have storage, because then you can have the combination of PV, which is being rolled out quite massively in Southern Africa at the moment, and then add to that obviously the storage that is required to be able to use the PV in our evening peaks. So I think that for me at least is a big driver in Southern Africa. The other thing is that speaking of diesel and so forth, if you start looking at the increasing cost of hydrocarbons and fuel, the cost per unit of energy from a generator is I would say on average almost double than what it would be if you looked at a PV combined with storage in a typical microgrid application. So I think it's just the ever decreasing cost of PV and battery combinations, which is to a very large extent starting to drive storage.
So for you, Carl, what is the impact of increasing renewables penetration and storage? So what does mean for national utilities and IPPs?
We're starting to see in South Africa a couple of projects where the IPPs are doing a combination of PV and battery. In the past, traditionally, it's been mostly PV, but we've now got a project that's going live soon that will have, I can't remember exactly the size, but I think it's quite a large combination of PV and battery being deployed in the northern part of our country. And the impact of that is that we're now starting to have dispatchable renewable energy, the combination of PV and battery storage. And I'm seeing a lot of that starting to develop in Southern Africa going forward. So yeah, quite a significant impact. And it's cost effective. The cost is comparable, if not less than the equivalent coal power station in modern terms. So it's becoming economically viable, definitely.
I totally agree. Mawufemo, I don't know if you would like to give your opinion regarding this.
So for us, we starting from the market point of view. The first thing is that I initially said the market is being rolled out in phases. The first phase we started somewhere 2018. And it's looking at a bilateral contract, existing contracts, and so on. And then we'll be moving shortly to the phase 2, which will be targeting the day ahead again with the bilaterals. And then we have a third phase, which is looking at spot markets as well as ancillary services. So this means this market, ancillary services, could be one of the key drivers for BESS in West Africa. Simply because we know that BESS itself can provide ancillary services in terms of frequency regulations when you are looking at voltage supports, and if you can go further to reactive power controls. So looking at it in that nature, you realize that this could be this part of the market, the phase 3 of the market could be a drive for BESS within the region, where I would say market participants or public or private who provide such a services at a fee. So that is one. The second thing that we are very aware of, we are studying is stability of the grid, stability and reliability of the grid. So in this context, you will see that we currently linking all the grid together. So all the 14 countries, ECOWAS main countries, are linked together with all the infrastructure projects that we have developed. Now, and also immediately we started synchronizing the grid. Now, in that context, we have to ensure a stability, and we have, that is why the stability of the grid, we are looking at the ancillary services can do to stabilize it. So stability in itself, you notice that BESS, BESS has this kind of rapid response capability to be able to address whatever fluctuation in demand and supply going to be coming up. And this could really lead to the fastest way of addressing any instability that will be coming out, as well as blackouts. So those are the things. Beside that, we also looking at, I mean, as part of the ECOWAS master plan, I initially said we have 75 priority projects, transmission and generation. As part of that, the generation projects are 47. And when you look at it, we have 31% of them are about thermal, and 60% of that is almost renewables, including hydro, of course. And if you look inside the renewables, then you're going to be looking at, you're going to be identifying about 3 gigawatts of them, which are variable in nature. That is solar and wind. So what we have utility scale solar park projects. We have them located all over the regions. It's a regional project in a sense that it does not belong to one country. So we have one in Burkina, 150 in Mali. We have 150 in the Gambia. I'm currently in the Gambia because of the Gambia one. And then we have upcoming one, which is 150 in Ghana, 150 in Benin as well. So, you know, the deployment of this variable renewable energy power, in a sense, it's a drive for the best. I think so. In a sense that it's the best itself addresses the intermittencies that was talked about by Carl, and you know, due to that, you have a lot of demand that will be coming for BESS in the region. So that is what I want to say briefly. These are the 3 things I see to be key drivers, which are linked to the regional electricity markets, as well as our infrastructure program that we have in development. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both. I would like to go through in this discussion through the topic of bankability. That we know that we are finding sometimes some issues, especially when you combine solar and storage, wind and storage. So I would like to let me know what is the main issues that you found for bankability in this kind of projects, IPP models. Gilles, you would like to reply this question?
Right now, bankability is the issue in deploying BESS. I think, I mean, being underground and raising financing for a BESS project, we've faced many issues. The first one being the financing of energy in sub-Saharan Africa is provided by development finance institutions, and they are reluctant to take any technology risk, meaning for them the technology has to be highly proven and reliable for them to be able to take the risk. I mean, they are not here to finance pilot projects or you know, new technology. So that is the first constraint. And secondly, that is brand new for them. Storage here, I mean, in Europe or in the US or Australia now is largely financed. It is a widespread technology, and those projects are commercially financed. It's not the case in Africa. That is still new. And it meant that the lenders need to be educated about what are the risks, what are the services, you know, what can you expect from the project and the technology, or what you shouldn't expect. And then there is an issue that we see, and that is also the case for when we discuss with utilities. It's the tenor of the project. I mean, we see a number of utilities or governments that want to combine solar with storage. But then it means you combine a 25-year technology with what, a 10-year technology? I mean, who in the market can provide guarantees for storage for more than 10 years? It's, you know, it's very, very rare. So we have, you know, PV panels manufacturer that provide 25 years warranty, and you can bank a project on that tenor. But then on storage, you combine it with a 10-year project, and that is in the end very challenging. Either you have a 25-year contract, and then what happens to your batteries after year 10 or even 15, or you have a more shorter project, but then with a much higher tariff because you amortize your investment over a shorter period. So that is today one of the key financing issue. You know, what is the tenor for those projects, and for how long are you able to finance them? And the question behind is, what is the tenor we can get from the suppliers in terms of product warranties, availability, etc.?
Yeah, it's a very key topic, and it's not only for Africa. This is worldwide, and it is something that it has to be developed more in order to make the projects more amortized. We have one question from the audience. It's from William, and he's asking, what about nuclear battery and their ability in the future? Who would like to pick and reply, William?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the nuclear battery is, to be honest. So I'm sure I can't comment on it. As far as I know, it's a primary source of energy that releases energy from the nuclear side of things. I don't know how that would be used in a storage sense. I would be interested to hear about that.
Yeah, and again, I mean, on storage, we see many technologies, some largely proven, but a number of them being not proven. And again, if you want scale, you don't reach scale on the pilot technology. It has to be proven. It has to be reliable. We will never invest on the technology that is not proven. I mean, you don't bank it for 20 years. If you want to invest millions dollars or euros for long-term period, you don't do that on the pilot technology. So nuclear battery, I don't know what it is, and unless we see it widely spread across the world, I mean that will remain small, or yeah, we won't reach scale with that.
So now that we are talking about those large scale projects in Africa, the bankability issues and everything, what is required exactly for these projects? Apart to solve this problem of bankability, what else it might be required? I don't know who would like to pick this question.
I can start. I can start with some points. In terms of what is required going forward. So obviously, as we are seeing here in South Africa with connecting large batteries to the grid, is that regulatory framework and policies are definitely something that is required, because otherwise we're going to end up having a bit of a free-for-all if everybody's just doing what they want on the grid, and that goes for CNI installations and large utility scale projects. So there's definitely a good required effort there. Then obviously one must look at the market, design of the market, and pricing structures. A lot of our utilities still sort of sit with traditional old models that aren't really relevant going forward, where you've got a dynamic distributed power system. So we definitely have to look at sort of the dynamic time of use tariffs, etc., so that that will allow these markets to operate efficiently. And then, as Gilles probably would say, that we need financial incentives and support. The whole concept of funding, because these projects are quite capital intensive, and we will need to find ways to get financing available where appropriate. Then I think from a South Africa or an African context point of view, technology transfer, knowledge sharing, I think is important, because often the leading innovators are quite shy with sharing the information and knowledge. And I think the demand is going to become so big that we need to look at global scaling of capacity and capability, which will definitely require some technology and knowledge sharing transfer. And obviously, infrastructure requirements. For example, in South Africa, we sit with a big short-term shortfall of generation capacity. We do have a lot of wind and solar projects in the pipeline, but our transmission network is not necessarily capable of bringing these things across. So there's definitely, I think, infrastructure development required. As Mawufemo mentioned, in West Africa, where they're busy connecting the grids together, that's part of the infrastructure development. Then obviously also looking at risk mitigation and project bankability, political stability that goes with that. So one must just make sure that project risks are in control. Another aspect which I think is quite important is local manufacturing and job creation, because of the big future economic impact of this energy transition. Again, the scalability is going to require capacity all over the space, not just in some countries. And I think that's something we can definitely look at getting going in Africa, is the manufacturing of battery energy storage systems locally. And another very important thing, I think, is that unfortunately, the weather is not always good everywhere in terms of wind and solar. But if we can have a large sort of regional distributed or collaboration network infrastructure, the odds will be in your favor. The weather is not bad always everywhere. So if we can have regional collaboration and integration, we can actually have cross-border energy exchange models, which gives us an additional, if you combine the infrastructure of wind, solar and energy storage and hydro storage and hydroelectricity, we can actually create quite a diverse and cost-effective power system across the sort of regions in Africa. So yeah, I think there's a fair amount of work that can be done, but I think the future is promising.
I think so. Gilles, Mawufemo, you would like to add something?
No, not fully. I will not talk a lot, but you know, in terms of bankability of this, what we see is that, of course, the price have come so far very well. They're having a lot of progress in terms of its trend in cost, which has been going down for some time. You know. But regarding the bankability, which is the commercial and financial viability, it's actually being, I would say, it's in a mood of evolving, because as Gilles said, you know, the technology aspect of it is still being improved. Investors are still looking at it, how it's going to fold out in the long terms, and all issues regarding to financing, security insurances or guarantees, issues that are still being new in this space. So that's what I want to say, that in terms of bankability, it is still a new space for which, of course, some are successful. There are some successful case studies there, but in terms, we have to see how it's going to fall out in the long terms as compared to other technologies. That's all I want to say. So for us, we also are looking at it in studies. What we are doing at WAPP is that the whole grid is being modeled in terms of grid stability, and then we are putting batteries on to see, especially those hotspots which will be creating instability in the grid, to see where these BESS can play certain roles. And then what we'll do next is we'll come up with a sort of investment plan if needed, to see how we can roll out some of these BESS projects. But it has to we have to really look at the economic and the financial aspect of it in terms of pre-investment study. Some of these things are hard and difficult to quantify, especially when you are using them in a grid support only. Thank you.
Thank you. We are getting a lot of questions from the participants, so I would like to go to another one. This one is from Michael, and he's asking, with the lack of smart grid technologies, energy policy and regulation in most of the African countries, what kind of batteries technology do you think could be adopted? It's not an easy question. Who would like to pick?
Yeah, I can try and venture an answer here. So yeah, it's a tricky question because it's difficult to see a link between battery technology and energy policy and regulation. You will choose your technology based on the requirement of the battery energy storage system. And I think that the question of bankability has come up quite a bit, and there you're looking at life cycles and so forth. If you look at the flow batteries, the cycles are quite large. You can have many cycles on a flow battery. It's just a question of applying that, because if you have a high power demand on a flow battery, the efficiency drops significantly, and then it becomes expensive from an energy point of view. But if you create like a hybrid battery where you've got a combination of, say, lithium and a flow battery, the lithium can give you high power for short intervals in peak times, and then the flow battery can provide you with a base load. So that would give you, I think, a fairly universal technology combination that can apply for various requirements. But I'm not quite sure how that would fit in terms of policy and regulation, unless somebody can explain the question in a bit better way.
Thank you, Kat. So Michael has another question that following this one, and he's asking us, the new battery technology coming up, how cost effective could they be to non-strongly impact African countries' economy and then participating to boost their economical instant? Mawufemo, maybe you'll.
Yeah, so new technologies in battery space. I think so far, if you look at all the technology, I think lithium ion is the leading technology in terms of capability, rapid response capability to intervene, and it also has a denser energy capacity and its efficiency as well. And if you look at the cost, that is key. It's also going down in terms of cost. So for us, I think these are millions and millions of dollars. You don't want to throw into a technology that is not yet solid or have been proven or is being operated somewhere else. So I think I would say yes, we still need time for those new best technologies, to see how they will come out in terms of performance and longevity. Whether investors will be interested in financing such a technology, whether insurances, guarantees will be made available for such a technologies. So those are the other aspects that has a play in it, whether it's not only the technology, you have to look at the financing, how you get your revenue out. It's a whole puzzle you have to pull together to be able to achieve such a. So any new technology is welcome on the is welcome, but for it to be deployed, you need to all this must be checked and for a successful execution within the region. I think so. That's what I want to say.
Thank you, Mawufemo. I have the next question for Carl and Gilles. I would like to listen their opinion, both opinions on this. So you can tell us more about the battery capacity augmentation strategies and the role of hybrid battery applications. Carl, Gilles, who would like to pick it?
I think in my previous question or answer, I've already mentioned, sort of referred to hybrid batteries, where you can get the best of different worlds to supply a requirement. And an area where I see great potential going forward for large-scale battery deployments in a sort of a renewable energy transition sort of world is the combination of a fast battery that could give you high power for short times, which could be either normal lithium batteries or the LTO batteries, and that you combine that then with a flow battery which is optimized for a longer term power supply. So if you want to do a 24/7 kind of microgrid with a combination of wind and PV, you would store the energy during the day, and then over the night your flow battery would give you the base load for the whole night, with the lithium batteries giving you the peaks that you would have in the early evening or the early morning. So yeah, I think that will give us very cost-effective solutions going forward, considering that flow batteries literally can have many thousands of cycles before they need to be replaced, as long as we can operate them at a fairly low power rate so that the efficiencies remain high. But in terms of bankability and IPP business cases and so forth, I mean, there's a lot of discussion going around how can we extend the life of a battery. If you look at the lithium world today, the guarantee is starting to give us 6,000 to 10,000 cycles per battery for up to 80% depth of discharge. Now that gives us 15 to 25 years worth of life out of the battery. So there's already something which is becoming quite interesting from a financial viability point of view going forward. And also, if we look at the future technology and price trends, the costs are coming down. If we had this discussion 10 years ago, we wouldn't have been talking about batteries in the field. They just didn't exist. Today, they're becoming mainstream. And I can only imagine that 10 years from now, the costs will become like PV. People don't talk about the cost of PV now. They just talk about doing it and getting it done and financed. It's not an economic or a life question anymore. So the costs will keep on coming down. The technology will keep on advancing to give us more reliable batteries. Energy densities will keep on going on. The cell life and durability will keep on going, increasing and going up. And we'll just see a much bigger deployment of distributed energy systems with artificial intelligence on top of this to help with network stability and things like that, which is going to become crucial in a distributed environment. And we'll also start seeing a much more emphasis on grid services and market participation in terms of setting dynamic tariffs to make all of this cost effective. And yeah, I just think the future of battery energy storage is very promising in terms of technology advancements and costs that will decline with increasing market opportunities. Yeah, and all of this together gives us something which I think will be viable, including then obviously the augmentation and hybrid strategies going forward.
Thank you, Carl. Would you like to add something, Gilles? So we go through the questions of the participants.
Yeah, again, I think it's all about the service expected by the batteries. I mean, it doesn't make sense to talk about cycle if the battery is just for frequency regulation, because then it is not, you know, you talk about two different things. So again, as Carl said, it's key to really design the project and choose the right technology for the services expected from the battery. Is it generation, basically, or load shifting, let's put it that way? Or is it service to the grid? And that would lead to different choice in technology, and that would lead to different warranties, that would lead to different tenor in the project. So it's really done to, and it will also lead to different pricing. If you talk about load shifting, then it means you sit on the generation side and you would expect a tariff in dollar or euro per kilowatt hour. But then if you look to service the grid and provide frequency regulation, not about tariff in kilowatt hour, it's a capacity charge that you're looking for. So all that is quite complex, and again, you know, it's different applications. Battery can be used for different applications and different type of contracts, different tariffs. Again, what is key is to have the utilities and governments and customers being educated about what the battery can provide and how, you know, the contract should be structured, and how the tariff should be structured. So I mean, storage is promising, but again, right now there is virtually no storage facility on the continent. I mean, we can talk about new technology. We can talk. The thing is, the old technologies, the proven ones, are not deployed yet. So let's focus on deploying projects. Let's try to deliver, and then, you know, yes, of course, new technologies will be welcome. We can, you know, we'll find new ways, extended warranties, but again, let's not overestimate what is the current market and the number of projects that are effectively on the ground.
Thank you. So I would like to take one question from the participants, and any of you can pick. So this question is from Brandon, and he's asking, considering the high LCOE for CSP facilities, what is the current future of CSP worldwide? Or you can, if you know more about Africa, you can talk about Africa. And he's asking if does any of the panel members have any comments of solid thermal storage, considering the cost of rare earth metals. No one.
Unfortunately, my in-depth experience and knowledge of that is not very broad, so I can't comment. I know we have a project in South Africa. In fact, I think there are two where this is being looked at, but I can't comment on its economic viability. And I concentrated PV. CSP at some stage was a big thing, but today I'm not aware of any projects utilizing it because the cost does not, I think, validate the gain that you get in yield. So yeah, I'm sorry, I can't comment there.
Mawufemo, okay, Gilles.
Yeah, maybe on that. I mean, being an investor, we should not forget the geographies in which we operate. I mean, South Africa is a bit specific, or Morocco or Egypt, but if you look at the rest of the continent, if you want to operate a project in Burkina, as we do, you know, I wouldn't do a CSP project in Burkina just because the complexity of operations and bringing spare parts, etc., is huge. I mean, it's those are already challenging geographies for easy, proven technologies. So again, I mean, it's we can try to pile all the high complexities, but if you want projects to be delivered, to reach financial close, and to become live, you also need to find or to choose the easy ones, meaning you cannot combine a very complex technology with complex operations with a geography where it's difficult to find or to bring operators to bring spare parts or equipments. I mean, that just become too complex. So, and when you look at CSP, yes, there've been projects in South Africa and Morocco because those are easier countries. I'm not aware of CSP in any other African country, just because that is too much complexity.
You're right. Mawufemo, you would like to?
Yeah, so as Gilles said, it's true, even if you look at the ECOWAS master plan for the development of power generation and transmission infrastructure, you're not going to see any CSP. In terms of the list of priority projects, we don't have CSP. So we have, of course, in the renewable space, we have solar PVs projects, we have hydro projects, and then the last one you're going to see is the wind, simply because these technologies have made a lot of progress, are less complex, as my colleague also said, and it's easier to manage and integrate into the grid, and the cost associated as well, the LCOE is key. So the master plan is based on a least cost planning, and at utilities level, that is what is done. You are looking at reaching a least cost planning master plan to come up with projects. So you're not going to see those kind of projects in any of, on the portfolio of utilities in the region. Yeah, so it's obvious. So it's really becoming rare that yeah, I'm not sure CSP is going to, unless there is a turnaround with the technology in future. But in the region, we have not seen any projects taking off ground on CSP. The only thing you will see is solar, wind, hydro projects. And in terms of the batteries for storage, what I told participant previously is just that we are just studying how battery can play a key role. And then if it is viable, then we move into an investment plan and propose some projects for which, even those projects does not mean it's going to be implemented. You have to carry out all those pre-investment studies until you reach bankability. And the grid itself, when we synchronize this, is going to serve as a storage facility, as we know, of which, if you are in country A and you are facing an issue as an IPP, you should be able to dispatch your power to any country. So the regional electricity markets, you realize that what we did at the phase one is just a bilateral. You're going to be trading with neighbors, meaning countries surrounding your countries, through bilateral agreements. Now we're rolling out the day-ahead markets, for which you have to plan today and log into our market system and be able to sell your power to a buyer when the market is closed or cleared, so it's the day-ahead market. And then the third one that will be added on is a spot markets. So the spot market is within the 4-hour period. You should be able to, if you are having, as an IPP, you're having an issue within 4 hours, you should be able to sell your power or find a buyer within our systems. And the WAPP itself, our members, as I say, we are currently at 40. There are a lot of interest in seeing the regional market taking off ground. And I think It's going to be very wonderful in terms of storage, and we'll also see how battery can play some roles in that third phase of the market. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are already on time, but I would like before to finish to raise the last question to all of you, a quick question as summary that you make me. So if you can share your personal expectations for the future of large scale solar projects in Africa. Promising. Carl, you mentioned before is promising, so I would like to listen one of you to give just this last summary, how you see the future of these projects in Africa. Carl, you can start, please.
Elena, I think I've already said it, and that is that I think that the global drive to net zero will definitely make it very, very viable to have renewable energy penetration to a large extent. Financing for coal-based power plants are becoming very difficult to get, if not impossible. Nuclear plants are extremely expensive and take a very long time to construct. We've got huge hydroelectricity potential in Africa, which I think one will definitely hope to get that exploited fully. But for the areas where we don't have hydro, like in the northern parts of Africa and the central southern parts of Africa, solar energy is definitely a freely available, fairly cheap resource. And with advances in technology and reduction in pricing, energy storage will be a perfect complementary match to solar to give us a reliable, renewable, cheap energy going forward. So my personal view is that it's a very bright, promising future. And in 10 years from now, we can look back and see that it's actually happened. Thank you.
Thank you. Gilles, your personal expectation.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been developing a solar project for how long now? 8 years, and we only managed to commission 2 plants, and that is a pity. So for the past 8 years, I hear that solar is the solution, etc. The reality is, it still struggle to ramp up, and there are a number of reasons for that. But so solar technology is obvious for Africa. I mean, it's the best solar irradiation level in the world. The demand is increasing. The old coal plants or thermal plants should be decommissioned. So yes, there is a need, and countries are in despair for more solar energy. But there are still a number of countries that don't even have one solar plant. Look at a country like Chad. There is not a single PV panel in Chad. I mean, there are mini grids, but there is no large-scale solar plant, and it's not an isolated case. So the question we should commonly, being market players, ask ourselves is what prevents the continent for having more solar projects, and then I mean it's a whole debate we need to have, but it's not about the motivation of the private sector and private developers to develop projects and invest money. This is not where the issue is, because we are working on the ground. We are proposing projects. We are working to develop and willing to invest. So yes, we are still optimistic, but we are also realistic about the challenges.
Thank you. Mawufemo, would you like to tell us your personal expectations?
Yeah, my expectation is that BESS will continue to play a key role, simply because the drive for renewable deployment is high in the region. And if you look at most of the countries in Africa, they have a higher percentage of RE, hydro, wind, and solar projects. So given to those RE projects, BES will still have a very important role to play. And when you're talking of grid stability or reliability, there for us, we are looking at how BES can come in and support, because there you want to see what are the cost benefits in terms of switching on BES or going off and switching off the thermal plants when you are having challenges, and old thermal plants somewhere. So if BEV will continue on this path of price going down, we're very sure that that short period of ramp up because of peak load that you want to shave off or something, I think BES will be the best options in future. And we're hoping that the price will go down very significantly, whereby already with the radiation we have in the region, with all the solar panels, we could be using them to store excess power and then releasing them when the peak is high. So basically that is what I want to say. And we are still studying BES to see what benefits it can bring to the region as part of our master plan and regional electricity markets agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So with this last question, we have concluded the conference, and it was very interesting to discuss with all of you. And thank you all for joining. And we have more questions from the participants, but I think we should organize another to pick all of these questions. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Elena. Thank you, colleagues.
Thanks, everyone.